Hi friends, welcome back to Farm Girl Diaries. My name is Caitlin and we are at the Memorial Day garden tour. So the past couple years, I've always done garden tours. They're a little bit more haphazard, but I always do a Memorial Day garden tour and a Labor Day garden tour. So we are at the Memorial Day garden tour. This is honestly such a different year than any year I've had in recent years. So I'm excited to show you why things are so different and all the possibilities that might come with this being a little bit of a different kind of year. Um, so if you are brand new to my channel, let's talk about my garden for a second. My garden serves a pantry function. So I don't do a ton of fresh eating out of my garden. My garden normally goes to preserving for future eating, fall, winter, and spring. I try not to go to the grocery store that often. I try to be as self-sufficient as possible. And turning a lot of the stuff that I grow into things that I eat is how I can survive that. So I take my tomatoes and we turn them into all of the things from enchilada sauces to barbecue sauces to spaghetti sauces to soups. I take my broccoli, I freeze and preserve my own broccoli. So anytime I need broccoli throughout the year, I'm going to my freezer for my broccoli. So the past couple years, I've really learned how to take what I grow in the garden and really maximize it to what I like to eat throughout the year. So I don't do a ton of fresh eating out of this garden, but that's something that I'm trying to work on. I'm trying to get better at fresh eating from this garden. So this year we're going to try to balance that a little bit. And I'm going to show you some of this that have already been eaten from the garden, um, which has been delicious. But let's just do a quick scan of the garden. So I am in 6B, 7A. I'm actually right on the line for 6B, 7A. So it depends who you talk to, what zone I'm in. But it is, like I said, it's Memorial Day Sunday. So it's like May 24th, I think. Um, and the garden is absolutely excellent. So one of the things that if you are thinking about gardening that you really want to prioritize is berries. Berries cost a ton of money and growing your own fruit is super easy. Could not be easier. So I have 3 blueberry plants over here in the garden. One, 2, 3. 2 are big I just got this year. The one, this is its second year, but I got it obviously a lot smaller. These are just trying to get established, so they're not going to really give me berries this year. I have one at the house that I showed you earlier in this video that's 6 years old, and it is covered in berries. So one of the things I'm going to need to do this weekend, I need to cover all my berry plants with bird netting because I will lose every single one of those berries if I don't cover them. But blueberries are something that is so easy to grow. Aside from this initial purchase, and you can buy them small. Like that one in the middle is this big. I bought 2 for $16, so they were $8 a piece. Honestly, that's not really that good of a deal. The 2 bigger ones I bought this year were $16 a piece. That was a good deal. But buy your fruit berries, your berry bushes, and then you can be overrun with fruit. One of the things I'm going to try to do this year is I'm going to try to see if I can't propagate some blueberry bushes to make more because I want a lot and they are a little bit expensive. So I'm going to see if we can propagate them. But what propagates itself and grows like wild is strawberries. So this is my strawberry bed, and we do have some weeds in there. Um, in my garden, I really struggle with thistle, but we have a ton of fruit in there. So I'm gonna take you down. I'm gonna show you. But strawberries, you buy, let's say you buy 50 plants for $50, about $1 a piece, and they will send off runners, which will make new strawberries. And I, I have a runner escaping the bed now, so I'll show you. So first, we talk about, look at the berries. I just see a whole bunch in there. Oh my goodness, look at that one back there. We gotta pick that guy. Do you see him right there? We gotta pick him. But this is what strawberries do. So I have my netting because I had a bunny already trying to eat my strawberries. And these are new strawberry plants. So we got to wind him back into here. So I have a whole big area that I need to fill with strawberries. But let's see if I can get in here. We need to have a garden snack. Oh my gosh. Oh, look at that. Isn't that the most beautiful strawberry you've ever seen in your life? This is my first year growing June bearing strawberries. I typically grow everbearing, which means they give you berries all summer long. But the berries are small and I haven't got that many. So last year I planted June bearing strawberries. Let's talk about how big this guy is. Like he's like the palm of my hand. He is absolutely stunning. He's absolutely stunning. So I already had one very nice sized berry I picked from that patch a couple days ago, and it was already starting to get eaten by bugs, or by a rabbit. So I fortified the insect netting or the pest netting. And now we have 3 little snacks. So my strawberries are just starting to come in. I was hoping I was going to be able to make my own jam from them this year and like do my own like pie or like do something with all of them. But I think I'm gonna get a lot of strawberries, but I think they're not gonna come in like 3 at a time this year, just because again this is their first full year getting established. So right now we have a garden snack. So it's early morning, so let's have this snack. And I'm gonna show you why you want to grow your own berries. Okay, ready? Mm. Oh my god. We see how red that is on the inside? Store-bought strawberries are not this red. Mm. Um, juicy. Mm. Don't mind me. I'm gonna eat this heaven sent strawberry. And then we'll be back to our garden tour. Mm. So good. Mm. First strawberries of the season. And they could not be any better. So excited. Sticking with berries, I have raspberries. I have black raspberries and red raspberries. Um, the red raspberries are doing fantastic. I checked them yesterday. We should have red raspberries within the month. We'll see. They have little berries on them, but they're not even close to ready yet. And then my black raspberries, we'll see what we get there. My black raspberries are on a fence between my house and my neighbor's house. And during a windstorm this year, the fence came down onto the red raspberries or onto the black raspberries. And because my black raspberries are thorns, they're wild black raspberries, so they have thorns. When my neighbor replaced the fence, we like put cardboard down. I'm like, do whatever you have to do so that you're not getting like mutilated with these raspberries. So he got the fence fixed, and he tried very hard to do minimum damage to my plants. I'm like, I'm not worried about it. They'll come back. So they look very rough this year. Um, so we'll see what we get this year. I think, need to do a very hard cutting of them this year, and kind of let them restart next year. But red raspberries were the prime berry anyway, so I'm still going to be in berries. Then we're gonna see how this goes. I planted a blackberry bush years ago. Blackberry bushes take over. You have no control. It's fine. I decided a couple years ago I didn't want them anymore because I never got the berries. The birds get the berries. So I kept cutting it for the past couple years. I've just like I see it, I cut it. I see it, I cut it. I see it, I cut it. This year it got away from me, and um, it's a very big bush and it is flowering. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give it another chance. I'm gonna see if I can get blackberries off of it. So I am gonna net it as soon as I see that I have berries growing. I'm gonna net it to keep hopefully the birds off of it so that I get the berries. I want them, not the birds. Okay, so let's talk about what else we have in this garden. Back there on that garden fence, I have some Brussels sprouts and some snap peas. I'll take you over and I'll show you. But how I work my garden is I have some in-ground beds and some raised beds. And the raised beds for me are more for my annual stuff, while my in-ground space is, or not annual, my spring stuff. And my in-ground spaces are more for my summer stuff. So what I found is I love raised beds. They serve a great purpose. You can control the soil, you can add soil. They are off the ground, they work great. But the problem with raised beds is the soil in a raised bed is much looser than an in-ground soil. So things that get big, like corn or tomatoes or peppers, these plants get really big, and therefore when you have a looser soil, it doesn't really help hold them up as much. So I use the raised beds more so for a lot of my spring stuff. So as we start harvesting our spring stuff and kind of getting that out, that'll be kind of out by mid-July, these beds largely sit empty. I have tried every year to start a fall crop so I can have a fall harvest. I've been very unsuccessful. So I don't know. I'm not going to do that this year. I try it every year. It never works. So I either will let the beds sit empty and just put them to bed in like July, or maybe I'll try to get like a fall crop of flowers in or something. But right now the whole garden is completely filled. We still have some things we have to plant, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Look at this Brussels sprout. This Brussels sprout has gotten huge. We've gotten a lot of rain recently, so that guy has gotten huge. And then I have a couple more back here. That one is so small, but the ones in the front are getting big. And then we have some snap peas. These snap peas were not growing for the longest time, but they finally started to grow a little bit. So I'm hoping I get a harvest off of them because I love snap peas. And then down the bottom we have weeds, but I have a couple of carrots. I planted a lot of carrots, trying to see what would take. And so we got a couple carrots coming in, so that's fun. And then weeds. It has been raining a lot lately, and I need to weed. I need to do a lot of stuff. Today is my day to come out here. I want to get a lot of stuff done. But my plants are loving the rain, but so are the weeds. So sometimes it's hard to stay up on all the weeds all of the time. So we at this channel, we look, but we don't judge. And then this bed here is my beet bed. This really got heavily planted. I mean, there are beets on top of beets and then random weeds. Lots of grasses are trying to grow. But we got a lot of beets in here. So we'll see what they do because they are so planted close together. I don't honestly expect them to do too much because they're planted so close together. But I was like, you know what? Let's see what we get. Normally the problem I have with beets is that bed ends up being kind of empty and I feel like it's a waste of space. So I try to plant beets and I'll plant like a whole bunch, maybe like 10 grow. So a whole bed will grow 10 plants. So it's kind of a wasted space. So this year I heavily planted. That is evident. So now I'm just like, you know what? Let's see what happens. I don't think I'm gonna get big beets by any means. But if I get small ones, we'll see. So we'll see what we have going on. And then this tower here is my green bean trellis. So I always grow my green beans on here. We're right inside the gate. And I have 3 green beans growing. I have 3 little green beans growing on this side. And not on this side. This side always takes forever to grow beans. But as these start to grow, they'll fill up this whole trellis, which will be really, really lovely. And then we get the asparagus forest. So this is my patch of asparagus. And it gave me a lot of asparagus this year. And what was funny was I was really nervous. I was harvesting too much asparagus and that I wasn't gonna have any go to seed. And that was wrong. I have so much that went to seed. And it's honestly still putting off asparagus. This asparagus here is a brand new one. It's still putting off asparagus. Here are 3. So it's still putting off asparagus, and I'm just missing it in the forest. It stopped for a while, and so I stopped checking it. And I'm thinking now I should start checking it again because it's still giving me a little bit of asparagus. But what I need to do is I need to tie these up because they're so big. I even have one laying across the path into my pond. So I need to get these tied up and kind of out of the way. They don't typically need to be tied up, but this year they're so big, they're falling over. They need something. So at the base of the asparagus patch, I have my zucchini. And then I also have a zucchini plant right inside the gate there. Right inside the gate, I have a zucchini. So I have 4 zucchini total, and I just kind of have them planted throughout the garden. Zucchini need to be pollinated. So it helps if you plant them all together so the bees can kind of just go from one flower to the next. But for years, I have not relied on bees to pollinate my zucchini. I do it myself. I hand pollinate zucchini. So that's why for me, I'm okay planting them throughout the garden in random places because I know as soon as they start flowering, the way they will get pollinated is by me. If bees want to go in after me or before me, that's completely fine. But I will be doing it too. So when that comes, I'll show you how to do that. I do have a reel on my page where I show how to pollinate zucchini, but we'll show you that when we get there. And then our tomato row is looking really great. They're starting to get nice and big. We got a couple volunteers. We got a volunteer bean there. This tomato got replaced, but he's looking really good. And I have a tomato there. Am I missing a tomato in here? I have a tomato there. I feel like there should be a tomato. Oh, wait, there. I'm like, there should be a tomato in here. Right there is that tomato. And some weeds. I got to get some straw to put in these weeded spaces. A big hollyhock. And then tucked back in there is another Amish paste tomato right here. It's hard to see when you have all the weeds. Right there. And then if we scan around, look at this beautiful geranium. Gorgeous. And then here is my feverfew. This is a medicinal herb, but it's going to get starting to put off some flowers. So I love how big and bushy this plant has become. I planted this last summer. He is beautiful, so I'm so excited to see him covered in blooms. So at the back end of the garden, I'm getting ready to show you my broccoli patch here, but some things I still need to plant. I have a random thing of tomatoes and butternut squash. So the tomatoes I don't want. I have plenty of tomatoes, and I don't know what kind they are. This was just leftover soil that I was like, they didn't grow anything. Let me throw some butternut squash seeds in there. They didn't grow. The tomatoes grew, the butternut squash didn't. So this has just been sitting in my garden, needing to get thrown away. And now I have these little butternut squashes in here. So we are going to get these planted today. Don't know where, but we're going to get them planted today. And then I also need to plant my sweet potatoes. My sweet potatoes have not gotten planted yet because honestly, our temperatures have been far too cold. I planted my peppers. Oh, my peppers are making a mess. I planted my peppers a week ago today, and the very next day, it got to 48 degrees at night. So peppers don't like to get cold. So anything under 50, peppers will stunt. So I brought out this big piece of plastic and we covered our peppers, and every single night for the past week, it has gotten to 50 degrees, if not 48, 49 degrees. And I have stopped covering them. So at this point, my peppers have gotten stunted. We're going to be happy with whatever we get, but they've definitely gotten stunted. And then my sweet potatoes, I didn't have in the ground because I was bringing them in because they also don't like the 50-degree temperatures. And I don't know what happened, but one night I'm like, you got to go out and cover everything. And then I completely forgot about it. Woke up the next morning and said, crap, Caitlin, you didn't cover anything. So at this point, it is what it is. But the sweet potatoes, I don't have a good space for them. Sweet potatoes are going to go right in this area here. So I'll bring you guys along when I plant them. I need to put them in the ground and those butternut squashes in the ground. And then I think we're planted out. Then I think we're completely planted out. So here are the peppers in question. I'm leaving the plastic because it's supposed to get to 48 tonight. I'm hoping I remember to come out and cover them. But we did peppers along the sides, and then in the middle, around the pots, are some sunflowers. I have the pots there to help hold the plastic off of the plant. And then you can see here, look, I have my jars ready to cover my beautiful peppers, and I completely forgot to do that. This is my gorgeous artichoke. I got him this year. I'm super excited for him. And then look at our potato bed. Our potato bed is coming in great. So normally in this early spring, before I really kind of plant everything, I go into my pantry and I'm like, okay, Caitlin, how much of this do you need to plant? How much do you need to grow? So for some reason, I didn't do that with my potatoes. And I have 1 jar of potatoes left on my shelf. 1. That is not enough. And I didn't do a big enough planting in the spring. So what I like to do is I like to do a small spring planting and a large fall planting. Harvesting potatoes in the middle of July is typically when I harvest them. Is miserable. It's hot, it's sticky, there's bugs. I hate it. I love harvesting potatoes, but in the middle of July, I hate it. So I do like a smaller spring one and then I do a large fall one. So I wasn't planning on doing like a massive fall planting this year. I was going to do a small one, but I wasn't going to do massive. Well, I need to do fresh potatoes and I need to have enough to can, and I need to have enough to like shred for hash browns for the freezer. So I'm a little panicked that I didn't do more spring potatoes. Luckily, I have a lot of volunteers coming, so I'll take you over and scan and show you the volunteers. But we're definitely gonna need to make sure we do a huge fall harvest of potatoes because the amount of potatoes that I'm growing is not enough to get me through the year. And broccoli and potatoes are two of the things that I really, really try not to buy. I really try to grow 100% myself. Look at what is already happening. It is May like 24th, and I have potatoes that are flowering. So I'm actually going to take the flower off because I don't want them to put any effort into flowering. I want their effort to go into the roots. And so I have another one over here. Here we go. So I've taken off the flower. They're not going to try to produce the flower, and they'll put their energy into the roots, which is the potatoes, which is what I want. So this is my main potato bed that I planted. And then this is the bed of all volunteers. So this is technically the red onion bed. Here are my red onions. They're not doing great at all. But in them, we have a whole bunch of potatoes. We have volunteer tomatoes. Look, I've never had potatoes try to flower this early in the season. Normally they flower, and after they flower, you harvest them 2 weeks later. But it's too early. They shouldn't be ready till like mid-July. But I have a whole bunch of volunteer potatoes all over there in this bed here. So there's a little one over there. So I'm excited that I have volunteer potatoes. So I'm gonna take all the potatoes that I can get. So this though is the red onion bed, and with the red onions, we're gonna take what we can get. This bed got super weedy super quickly. I was on it, and I still am, but it is out of control. It is out of control. It has a whole bunch of different volunteers in it. It's just a mess. But look at this bed. This is my black hollyhock, and he is getting ready to bloom. And then in this bed, we also have my Abe Lincoln tomato. I've never grown an Abe Lincoln, and so I'm super excited to try him. I'm excited for him, but then here, oh my goodness, look at our snow peas. So these are snow peas. This is what my snappy trellis should look like. Oh, my shadow's in the way. This is what my snappy trellis should look like, and I don't know why they're taking so long to grow this year. And then, oh, Lord have mercy, look at all the thistle. Goodness. But in this bed, I also have some zinnias, a couple random carrots, some zinnias, and then some sunflowers and some marigolds. So I need to come in here and obviously weed. Oh, Lord, I should have weeded that before this video. It was this morning. I was just, you know what? I had nothing to do this morning before I go to the farm. I'll come out and I'll shoot a video. We're going to be working on here all day today, so we'll work on that bed later. Here is my onion bed doing fantastic things. And again, this is growing so fast. These onions could use a haircut. So with onions, they're heavy nitrogen feeders. So I've been feeding them nitrogen every 2 weeks. And then once they start to bulb up, I'll stop. But once they get nice, long leaves on them, we like to give them a haircut. And again, they stop putting their effort into the leaves, and they'll put their effort into the bulb. So these might be getting close to haircut time. That one sure is. So these might get a haircut this weekend. But they're looking really good. They're looking really, really fantastic. They should start bulbing up soon. And then in here I have volunteers, carrots, a bean, a couple carrots down there. But then here we have our kale. And our kale looks magnificent as always. Now we walked away from the broccoli bed. Let's go back to the broccoli bed. Walk around the plastic that is covered in water because we've had so much rain. And then let's come down here. Look at the broccoli. This is the earliest I've ever had broccoli. I've already harvested 2 broccoli heads. And based on how some of these look, I'm going to need to do a harvest this weekend and process them for the freezer. Look at these. I mean, look how big some of these are. I do harvest a broccoli. So here's one I harvested. I'll put off these little side shoots. And so you'll still get a lot of broccoli in just the little side shoots. So in here as well, I have a row of cabbages. And then my cauliflower. My cauliflower hasn't given me any heads yet. Given me a head. Let me see if I can find it. Is that little kohlrabi? Oh, right back there. Look at that little guy. So I'm really excited. Oh, look, and here's a little one too. This little guy. The smallest little kohlrabi. So I'm really excited for what we're going to get from this bed. And then tucked in here is another zucchini. So things are doing really great in there. So that's one of my chores today, is to come out here and harvest some of that broccoli and get that preserved. I had to shed my sweater. It's getting pretty warm. Over here we have our arch, and I have a little wisteria cut, and I'll show you. I'm hoping to grow wisteria all over this arch. So I took this cut-in from my mom. I bought her a plant a couple years ago, and it rooted in water. So I put it in the ground, and I hope that that takes off. It normally looks worse before it gets better. And then here for the first time, and I am excited, I'm growing cantaloupe. And on the other side of the arch in thistle, right there, and right, where is it? Oh, right there. I'm growing watermelon. Gotta come out and pull the thistle. I pull the thistle all the time and it just never stops growing. I'm excited to grow cantaloupe and watermelon. I don't like melon at all, but I'm excited to try it this year. I want to make myself like it because growing melons is such a summer thing and it's such a garden thing. But I'm like, if you have a whole garden, you should be growing melons. So I'm going to try it this year. We're going to see what we think. See if I can't force myself to like it. And then tucked in here, I have a cherry tomato, one of my cherry tomatoes. And then if we scan over, there's the potato bed and the pepper bed. Right in the crook of that, I have another cherry tomato. And then this area here is going to be the sweet potato area. My plan is, because the broccoli is kind of already showing signs that it's not going to last much more than maybe a month, month and a half, and get the sweet potatoes in here, they can start growing this way. And then by the time I would lose this path, my broccoli would be ready to come out. So then the sweet potatoes can keep kind of coming this way, and it won't be, it'll make good use of this space rather than having it just be a path. And then I have a pumpkin, I think that's a pumpkin planted there. Don't really remember. But then I have all of these volunteer sweet, what are they called? Sunflowers. So they're right in front of Bessie, my cow. So I'm excited to see. It'll be like Bessie's poking out from behind a field of sunflowers is my hope. So I'm excited for that. And then back here, there's really nothing to show you yet. But I planted my corn. It is starting to come. I see a lot more than I did 2 days ago. So it's starting to come. I planted in rows to be civilized, and then I dropped the bag of corn. So it's going to be a hodgepodge of corn, and at this point we're going to take what we can get. And then along this row here, so I definitely have a problem with thistle. If you're not familiar with my channel, I have a problem with thistle. I fight it so hard, and I lose. I will say, and I say this before, I just wanted to stand up for myself a little bit. Thistle is better than it has been in past years. It looks bad. You're like, Caitlin, there's so much thistle. It is so much better than it has been in past years. I am on it. I'm slowly gaining ground on the thistle, but there's still definitely a lot of it. So give me grace, please. I know it's there. I worked very hard to get rid of it. Like, there's a ton of thistle growing in my windmill garden. That's on the list to do today. Go out and pull that thistle and try to beat it. But down here along this fence, so because I know I have thistle, I like to try to put some ground cover in that'll maybe fight back the thistle. So along here is where I have a whole bunch of my pumpkins and my watermelons at the end of this row. I'm hoping by the time that this watermelon or these pumpkin vines grow, it'll help kind of keep the thistle from really growing too easily, and it'll make the thistle have to work a little bit more, which maybe help me when I'm trying to pull it all out and beat it. Oh, I left my sweater out here. So that is the vegetable garden. We have a lot in here. Oh, I didn't show you this one. I have a zucchini here, and then I have a little dahlia plant there. That is coming back super quick. I put that in the ground, and like literally probably 2 days later, there was a sprout outside of the ground. So that's growing super, super quickly. Okay. So while there's a lot going on in the garden, like weed wise, and like there's a lot of work to do, Caitlin, I've planted a lot of food. Like I said, it's May 24th, and I think, and I have planted a lot of food. So I am proud of what all I've done. And now we just kind of need to start harvesting it as it's coming in. It's coming in earlier than it's ever come in before. So that's exciting. Okay, let's come over here. And we're in the flower farm area. So last week I planted my sunflowers. They don't like the cold weather either, but they had to deal because I wasn't doing anything to cover them. And then in this bed, we have a whole bunch of flowers. We have our snapdragons, some peppers. Again, you can see I tried to cover them and forgot. My lisianthus. Then over here we have poppies, gomphrena, and my strawflower. This bed is more sunflowers. I need to plant them today. That's on the list to plant. And weed eat. And then over here, we have a whole big mound of mint. And then back there is some Jerusalem artichokes. So, and then a honeysuckle. I'm leaving the honeysuckle because that is a good plant to have. So it looks weedy, but that's a lot of good stuff in there. That's not to say the rest of the property isn't weedy. Tucked up against this garage, very weedy. But we move on. So, coming up here is our peach tree. And our peach tree had a fungus. And I don't want to get ahead of myself and say like we beat it, but I haven't been finding any distorted leaves on it lately. So I think we might have beaten it, but we have peaches on here. Let me see if we can't find them. Oh, I think there's one. And then this branch, I think, has some, I don't know. They're in here somewhere. They're tucked in here somewhere. There's one branch that has like 4. Oh, right there's one. They brought Hyacinth her breakfast. We took a little break from the video, but so that peach tree has about 8 peaches on it. Looks huge. This one is just little. She's just little. She did flower this year, and last year she did give me 2 peaches. I don't see any on her yet. So she might give me some later, or she might just be putting her work into her roots. But yeah, that's the garden. She looks a little messy. But we have a lot of work to do on her. But I'm excited. I'm excited, friends. I'll show you the patio garden. And then we'll end this video, this garden tour. So we have a lot coming in vegetable-wise and plant-wise. And we're kind of getting our flowers started right around now. Our flowers are finally starting to come in slowly. Look at this guy. This is my first zinnia. Tiny one, tiny little guy. It has to get larger, but look how pretty that is. And then in here we have a lot. I have some beautiful purple irises in here. Tons and tons and tons of orange poppies. Back there we have a mum Shasta daisy. There's a Shasta daisy right there. We have some lilies. And then we have our first rudbeckia. growing. So it's growing all right in here in this asparagus fronds. Then we have a ton of calendula popping up. In fact, there's a dahlia that overwintered. I have a couple dahlias that didn't overwinter, which really sucked. But there's lilies. There's all kinds of stuff in here, minus all the orange poppies. So this space I planted before I really knew what I was doing. I would do a lot of things differently now. I wanted, first of all, this space was supposed to be like another vegetable garden. And then I was like, no, I really like it for flowers. And then I really kind of wanted it for annual flowers. And then I realized the annual flowers a lot of times get eaten before they get big. So then I planted some perennials, like I have mums and Shasta daisies and the irises and tulips and lilies. The one thing I wish I had done is I had planted more shrubs. So a couple years ago, before I had this space, I wasn't into shrubbery at all. Bushes, things that didn't flower, I'm like, why do you need them? You need them. If I could redo this bed, and I still may one day, but I would line the whole back with shrubs, with some sort of like bush, pretty bush, different, and give different colored greens, give different textures, and still have a couple of them in here, and then kind of plant flowers around them. Because right now, while we're waiting on things to bloom, it's not very pretty. It just kind of looks messy. So we still may do that one day. I may get annoyed this year if this isn't just absolutely bursting with flowers and bursting with color. I may get annoyed and go buy a couple of big shrubs, big bushes. But I'm hoping that once the flowers start growing, it'll be like kind of that wildflower look that I really want from this space. So I have my beautiful patio here. I need to paint my chairs. I painted 2 of them this year. And then whatever the trees started just unloading doesn't come off. So I need to paint those chairs. But I really wanted this space to be a huge, just pretty flower space. I got strawberry juice on my shirt. That is how juicy that strawberry was. But that's our Memorial Day garden tour. So what is different this year is the sun is just so much more intense this summer so far. Right here where I'm standing, it's all 58 degrees. In the garden, in the direct sun, completely different story. But the sun is just so intense. I feel it when I'm in the garden. Like right now in the afternoon, I can't be in there because I feel like I'm literally getting beat by the sun, which I've not had that experience before, so I find that a little odd this year. But not only do I feel like I'm getting beat by the sun, I have never, ever harvested broccoli this early. I have never had my potatoes flower this early. I've never had my onions be this tall this early. Everything is growing exponentially faster than it typically does. So I have some plans in place. Like when the onions come out, I have a single stem sunflower that's purposely just for cutting. And so when the onions come out, those beds are going to get filled with those single stem sunflowers. And I think that'll be fun to have like fall sunflowers, especially for vases and stuff like that. And I know the broccoli is going to come out soon. Maybe I have another month with the broccoli before it's completely gone to flower and gone to seed and not surviving anymore. So it's definitely just a much different year than we've had in the past. But I'm here for it. I'm getting plants. I'm here for it. So that wheelbarrow holds gravel that came out of my herb garden. I had to fix my herb garden this year. So it holds gravel that I need to get rid of. And it's filled with water because we've gotten so much water. And the birds have been loving using it as a bird bath. I have a real bird bath, but they have been using that wheelbarrow as a bird bath. So what that tells me is I need to get another bird bath. And so I'm working on some ways, because bird baths are expensive. I'm working on ways to build a bird bath for my birds in that location. And I still have the pond. So they also love to splash around in the pond too. So I want to thank you guys for joining me. We will be together more this weekend because, like I said, I do want to get some things planted. But I want to thank you guys so much for coming along on Memorial Day garden tour. So much is happening, and I'm so excited to bring you guys along on this journey. I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye, friends.